What's up, everybody? I hope everybody out there is having a good week. Welcome to this week's edition of the Ergo Weekly Update. I'm here with Alex. Well, how are you doing today?
Doing well. So yesterday we had a community chat about the Telegram group, and so now it's the video MA, and next week it will be community chat again, and MA for sure. It's about to be weekly.
Yeah, I thought that community dev chat went pretty well. You know, there's a lot of interesting stuff in development from layer 0, layer 1, potentially layer 2.
So yesterday's community chat was about scalability and throughput, so current state and solutions for problems we are facing or going to face soon. Wednesday's devs chat was also quite amazing. A lot of synchronization with community right now.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that. You know, there's a lot of interesting stuff. I was curious to learn more about what GitBlock had in motion with their Plasma contracts.
All right. Yeah. So I will mention that during today's update.
Yeah. So this week, from the business side, we are making some progress with banking, which has been painfully slow, but that is at least, appears to be wrapping itself up. We did get listed on a regional exchange, Indonesia. So that gives our Indonesian miners and users access to ERG and their native currency, which is always nice to see. We had quite a hefty update this week. I shot a video with CW that's going to be kind of like a new format, which I think is going to be quite a bit nicer. And I'm really excited to watch him as he spins up his channel. He's going to have a mining chat once a week and potentially have projects from throughout the ecosystem on there, so users can interact and learn about what people are building. So great stuff. So what kind of updates do you have for us this week, Alex?
All right. So Indodex is now live. So there is another integration going. Right. So as usually, we are not providing details, right? So it will be a bigger exchange. And so in regards with regional ones, eventually it would be good to get on more regional exchanges. For example, in Brazil, right, Latin America, a lot of miners there. And what else?
India potentially has.
Yeah, maybe India.
Ergodex or whatever.
Yeah, and actually, for Indonesia, it seems Ergo is quite popular there. So for Ergo wallets, a lot of downloads was from Indonesia. I don't know much about mining landscape there, unfortunately. But for wallet users, so it seems this country has some significant share.
Yep.
All right. So another integration is going, and it will be a global exchange, and much bigger than Indodex then, right? And Taiwan, actually.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that come out. It's one of those things where we sign, non-disclosure agreements and can't really get into it, but we do have a plan and path that we're working towards in terms of building market access. That's we've done a lot of organizational work in probably the last 6 months behind the scenes in terms of establishing the company, getting banking rails, getting audits, working with a firm to get legal opinions. So a lot of that is coming together, and I'm hoping that this year, now that we have a foundation, we can really build on everything we've put together. So do you want to get to questions?
Yeah, so some updates maybe. Yeah, so GetBlock released that library Plasma, so would be useful. So not for just Plasma constructions, but yeah, so for off-chain applications, actually a lot of them. And yeah, so also want to add that yeah, I finished EP 27 details, so issued tokens, and yeah, checked EP text again, implementation contracts, fixed some glitches. Yeah, well, the EAP text with final data will be updated well today, and today I'm going to release a new EAP 27 protocol reference client version. Yeah, I've actually forgotten what is versioning there. So yeah, the first version was called release candidate 1, right? So today release candidate 2 will be released, and now yeah, it's recommended for the pools to test things our the test net, and yeah, also to use on the mainnet. Well, maybe a few days after, but yeah, for some big pools with many nodes, so they already can start testing on some of the nodes actually, because it's compatible with well, the latest node version 4.0.26, which was released on Wednesday. And yeah, so a few words about releases. So this new version 4.0.26 has some improvements in bootstrapping. So it's recommended if you are going to bootstrap a new node, and yeah, actually a lot of PRs there, like 9 of them from 4 or 5 contributors. And yeah, so we have already enough material for next couple of versions. So yeah, hopefully I will have quicker releases now by including less pull requests per release, so like 3 or 4 fix and features, and yeah, that's it. So then yeah, so we have enough material for next 2 or 3 releases, which is quite awesome.
Yeah, that was a pretty heavy update. 9 different pull requests, and that I was impressed.
Yeah, so yeah, a lot of commits, lines of codes. Yeah, so it's hard to review and test. So yeah, for next versions, the plan is to go to less pull requests again, because then yeah, the changes are more observable.
Sure.
And yeah, hopefully secure them. All right, and yeah, so ErgoHack is coming. So the next community chat next week will be focused on that. So yeah, please join the ErgoHack. Maybe we will propose something not for just developers, but yeah, for tech-savvy people. And yeah, actually, I guess we are waiting for very different submissions, right?
Yep. You want to get to questions?
Yeah, let's go for that.
All right, let's start at the top. Monzi said that Ergo is ASIC resistant until it's not. You care to have a comment on that?
So yeah, actually, it's quite complicated talk, right? And yeah, it's always possible to do specialized hardware, right? So the only question is how big advantage could be, right? Our CPUs and GPUs. As far as I know, there are some FPGAs, right? FPGA miners for Ergo, but FPGAs are not that efficient, right, in comparison with GPUs. For ASICs, well, I don't really know at the moment how efficient they could be. Usually, yeah, it's the question for the real world, right? So now we have ASICs for Ethereum proof of work function, right, and for other proof of work functions created as ASIC resistant. So Ergo had a lot of things done to be improved our equihash, right, and other previous algorithms. Yeah, let's see. So yeah, well, it's always possible to do specialized hardware, right? So the only question is how efficient it can be. So.
All right, let's go to the next question. This is from Vilkem. He says, will the Ergo core team help Ergodex team build bridges? Ergo is now listed on big central exchanges, but with bridges to big change, it won't be necessary. Bridges will make the same availability as a tier 1 central exchange.
Yeah, sounds reasonable. But to be honest, I don't know about Ergodex plans to build bridges. Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, from what I've heard, they're working on building a bridge to Cardano. Now, exactly what the specs are,
right.
I'm not up to date, but I imagine they're working with MHS and doing some type of composable framework based on what the team has already built. I doubt they would just engineer that, without reusing a lot of the blueprints and planning we've already put together. But that's something that I do think that we'll see this year. I know that MHS is working with SUSI, which I believe is going to bring USDT from Phantom and from Ethereum. And we also have the Rosen bridge framework that's being put together. At this point, it's still kind of in the manufacturing stage. And I think there's going to be an announcement in terms of the tokenomics and kind of the game theory behind slashing and staking and incentives and their longer term path. It's coming. I don't know when it's actually going to be out, so I shouldn't give a date, but that's in development. But we certainly are working towards having, listings on bigger central exchanges. That's, a goal. It's something that, as our liquidity and market access improves, we get closer to. And, being that, we're still kind of growing. I think our biggest at the moment is KuCoin for now. It's kind of a path. It's one of those things that we don't have like a heavy market maker that a lot of projects do. And a big part of that is because the Ergo Foundation itself didn't take a huge share of the token rewards, right? If the Ergo Foundation had like 20% of the emissions, why not put, 5%, 7%, whatever of the actual, treasury into market making, and then, we could have bigger volume, and that, people love that. But we kind of chose a different path that's a little bit more organic, which is painful. I don't know if Bitcoin could launch today in the market that exists and even be successful. What do you think about that, Alex?
Yeah, so it's not so painful these days, actually. So yeah, it was very painful in early months, right, when Ergo was about 20 cents, right? And so yeah, it was hard to survive, but somehow, well, the ecosystem survived, and yeah. grow even into the current state. So yeah, I'm quite optimistic. And
Yeah, me too.
yeah, so with grabbing well significant portion of emission. So yeah, it's much easier business, but yeah, it's not in the first place. Then yeah, you can be relaxed, right? So there is no need for creative and hard work, right? If you can just spend money and yes, selling some hype all the time, like actually a lot of so-called blockchain projects are doing, right? So they're just selling well hype, which is trendy, and yeah, selling tokens and so on.
I think
Right.
the path that's fair is ultimately the best. It's painful at first, especially when it's not something that's popular to talk about, but the industry did kind of grow around a single point, which was Bitcoin. So you do have, I would say you could probably you probably have 20 people in this industry that control access to huge aspects of markets and or marketing. And I think that's just kind of the fact that it grew around a single point. So sometimes that can be difficult to deal with. And nowadays we do have a lot of money, funds, VCs, that kind of thing coming in that oftentimes do, let's say, get that seed round or private round money. And it's changed a bit, but I think that having fair launch and fair access over time is much more preferable. Let's see. I'm not even going to try to read this character's name. Addy said that Brazil-based exchanges would be useful. Yeah, I tend to agree. I would love to talk to, I think it's Mercado is probably the biggest down there. That would be nice. I do know that Novadax is another exchange. So we're looking into it. I would like to get a regional exchange spun up in a lot of these specialty markets. That way people have access. We do want to rotate and get a listing in the US this year. That's a goal. And I think we have a path to do that. All right. So this is for you, Alex.
All right.
It's from Augustus Kent. Can we have a simplified summary of the EIP 27 roadmap? What happens next, and where are we in the process?
All right. So next, it's up to miners whether to vote for it, right? Not. So if for any voting epoch of 1024 blocks, enough support, so 90%. Will be shown. Then yeah, it will be activation on height 777.217. Right, and then starting from this height, so miners will enforce well, basically themselves to pay into pay some share from mining income to re-emission contract, right? So basically prolonging emission. So unlike well, probably all the cryptocurrencies I know, so emission in Ergo is done via contract. Right, and now, well, there will be, in case of support from mining hash rate, a filter, right, for this contract to pay to another contract, right? So re-emission contract, which is basically like emission contract, which will pay flat rewards after well, emission from the main contract will end. And yeah, so as far as I know, currently GetBlock guys also working on some emission contracts to reward miners with some custom tokens. And yeah, I think this would be an interesting idea, right? So instead of doing airdrops and so on, to reward miners via emission contracts.
Yep.
All right, and yeah, so let's see. So on the testnet, EIP 27 activated, and yeah, can be tested. So some fixes are now needed for the testnet explorer to show correct amount, for mining rewards and so on. But yeah, so in the reference protocol client, so yeah, everything is done, and yeah, testnet is successfully working now.
Yep, there was a question in the community about that, because we did have a vote earlier that did pass, and that was kind of an indicative vote. Should we build this? That did pass, and so we've been working for a couple of months to, Alex has, particularly in terms of building and testing EIP 27. Details have been released, and yeah, so the next thing to do is to have a formal vote with miners to implement it. As we kind of
right, because yeah, so without formal vote, so yeah, initially there was a plan to have just this indicative voting, right, and then activate in some hard way, right? So let's say, so we are providing some version of the node where EIP 27 would be automatically activated at certain height. But yeah, it's quite a dirty way, right? And as we have a lot of mining pools now, and yes, situation with mining landscape is going to be better, right? And in regards with diversity, then yeah, probably it would be much cleaner to have another votes which will trigger activation, right? So and yeah, it's basically also shifting decision making, right, from developers to miners, which I think is fair. So yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do think it's fair. And, the reality is a lot of people didn't see and probably won't appreciate the work that you did in terms of going from a quick and dirty upgrade of, the reference client to building in voting systems for miners. I think that was quite impressive, Alex. So you have my respect with that.
Yeah, and so immediately after EP 27 activation, so we will propose another vote on so-called 5.0 soft fork, which basically about the one major change, which is going from ahead of time costing in contracts to just in time, which will provide a significant performance boost, and also will eliminate some unpredictability in smart contracts execution, in regards with ahead of time costing, which is working sometimes surprisingly for a developer.
Yep. So those of you that are asking about version 5.0, there you go. After EIP 27 is implemented, we will propose a vote and see what the mining community has to say. So next we have a question from a person named Armeanio. Answer my questions. And that's asking, are you aware of anyone working on accounting tools for Ergo, such as tracking and classifying transactions for tax purposes, or integrations with any of the general crypto tax tools? I do know that wallets have been working on the export history function in terms of having a tax tool tracking or classification, I imagine, you're probably within a certain jurisdiction. And, it's kind of messy, depending on where the user is, what the jurisdiction is, and then how things change. There's a lot of complexity when it comes to taxes. Now, in terms of integration with any general crypto tax tools, that's probably something that the community should build. And I think if there's demand or enough interest, it will get built. Now, in terms of like me personally, I understand sometimes you have to feed the beast, pay your taxes, whatever. But I think that in terms of the core team, that should be something we should leave to the community. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, so could be a topic for the upcoming hackathon.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So for the core, right. So actually, Ergo Foundation is supporting basically just one wallet, right, at the moment. So the Ergo wallet, right? Because there were no wallets for Android and iOS. Right, and yeah, so for other wallets, we are not making any decisions, right? Basically.
Yeah, so we can give kind of guidance. It'd be nice to see, but I think it might be a nice hackathon topic at some point. Okay, next one is from Bravo. He says, "Hello, sirs. Looks like right now the most centralized part of Ergo is the Ergo Explorer. What are you doing to help decentralize it?" So what is happening with the Explorer right now is Ilya is working on making it a little bit more modular and upgrading it. We have a proposal that we're pursuing to build GraphQL as a new or alternative layer. Hopefully what the path to decentralization looks like is we get a couple of competing builds that then dApp developers can choose to use, support, and over time, we have more specialty explorers for specific use cases. I do know that that's already starting with ERGOPAD. So I think that as the Explorer matures a little bit, and as new developers come in to support their project, we will naturally see that grow.
Right, and actually, there were a lot of discussions about that starting from 2019, actually. Yeah, there were plans to introduce optional additional indexes in the nodes, right? Like in the Bitcoin core client, there is a takes index flag. Right, which makes database and blocks processing much heavier, right? But then you can query for more data, but still, yeah, for not so much as in case of using Explorer, which is the heaviest option possible, right? Then, yeah, there were discussions about well, instead of using centralized servers, put database into some decentralized file systems such as IPFS. But yeah, then it's not quite clear how to make queries efficiently, right? On top of that, so then yeah, there were many tools like Scanner, which I started like last summer, right? So yeah, also the node provides custom scans. So this could be useful for particular applications to track for certain UTXOs and transactions based on some tracking rules. But yeah, so for Explorer itself, yeah, definitely, well, installation procedure can be improved. Right, and yeah, performance optimizations also needed to provide possibility to install it on some non-EF sponsored servers, right?
Yeah, it's a hard question. This is kind of where it becomes a lot easier to be a semi-centralized chain to where you can, kind of host your Explorer in very fast environments versus saying, okay, well, there's some computational costs and maintenance and let's say lift associated with hosting the Explorer. And how do you create the right environment to do that? Is it a matter of just like creating an incentive, and then what happens if the incentive goes away? I think the ideal is to, as the ecosystem grows, more and more projects are going to host their own customized version, and we're already starting to see that. So I think that will continue, but it's certainly something that the team is looking at, and I would agree. Next question is from Bravo as well. It's a pretty good question. Do you consider AMD and Intel a source of centralization since they manufacture the primary number of GPUs on the market?
Probably, yeah, especially as, well, currently they're producing GPUs with anti-mining features, right? Which is shaking mining landscape a lot, actually. So yeah, it would be good to see some improvements here, but hard to say, right? So well, hardware manufacturing at large scale is hard. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to well, hard to enter this business, and so then it's maybe not very realistic to wait for bigger competition in this field, unfortunately.
Yeah, at some point we are pulling from the global economy, which generally runs at the principle of capital efficiency. And so even if you were to look beyond AMD and Intel, I imagine you would find even more potential single points of failure or centralization in terms of where they source their materials, their parts, their manufacturing equipment. Unfortunately, that the global economy does tend to build on, the most capital efficient way, which sometimes creates a lot of choke points and bottlenecks. And, with a lot of the supply chain issues that have been happening globally in the last, 2 years, we've seen that more and more. How, sometimes a single point of failure shows up in the manufacturing process, even beyond a centralized company, and that creates a big issue.
All right, yeah. So yeah, let's see how it goes. So,
yeah, the one benefit,
it's not so good, right, to see just two companies making all the GPUs.
No, the one benefit I would say is there is a pretty well saturated market that's already existed in terms of GPUs that are on the market. And that's probably the only thing that's helped is just mass production that's already available.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Let's see, what can you do or what can be done to entice and bring in new developer talent from other blockchain ecosystems? For example, Cardano, Tezos, etc. And that's from Ergo Prism.
All right, so another DECO course is coming, right? So we need for better promotion of materials we already have, right? So please do not hesitate to spread well the materials from 2019 even, right? So they're still actual right, and then yeah, so we are doing more hackathons, right? And yeah, later maybe we will announce some news in regards with more education activities, right? So there are some things we are working on under the hood.
Yeah, I would say documentation and tools are always helpful for developers. whether they're coming from a different ecosystem, or they're just coming to Ergo, having, support and some sort of guidance in terms of what you're building, how to build it, tutorials to follow, documentation, and understanding of the tools that exist, all are helpful in that initial process.
All right, and actually, yeah, maybe also spreading the vision, right? Because, well, in comparison with many chains, well, especially proof of stake chains, right? Which usually do have a lot of tokens went to the team, right? And ecosystem growth funds. Yeah, they can buy developers, right, in different ways, basically. But well, for many developers, right, it's also they also want to build on something, right, which is tied to original vision and so on. Here is where Ergo shines, I believe.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's see. I'm going to ask another one from Armeanio, answer my questions. He says, Ergo wallets have developed quite a bit in the last 6 months. Is there any killer feature that is missing from current wallets? What would you like to see, Alex?
Sorry, which wallet? Oh.
Just in general, that we've had, we went from Yoroi to now we have multiple competing products. And this character is asking, are there any features that you would like to see that are currently missing?
Yeah, actually, a lot probably, right? Even transactions history missed in Nautilus. But yeah, so recently, so during the previous AMA, well, I expressed a plan to try Sky Harbor with Nautilus. So I did that actually, and yeah, it was well, a totally amazing experience, right? So everything was so smoothly. That was truly amazing.
No, that was a different question on the list, but you knocked it out. Somebody had asked that.
Yeah, actually, both of them agreed. So Sky Harbor and Nautilus wallet.
Yeah, the feature probably I would like to get into in terms of wallets, is I know we already have one mixer integration with Safe Wallet. I'm really curious to see what happens as we get kind of the TypeScript mixer integration, and also potentially multi-sig would be really neat to see at some point in wallets.
Yeah. So multi-sig and yes, support for some contracts and dApps. But yeah, so even what we do have now, right? So dApp connectors, well, it's quite amazing. By the way, I heard that dApp connector is going into Minotaur wallet.
Yeah, non-web dApp connector. I think that's going to be the first one.
Yeah, that would be quite amazing also.
I'm looking forward to it. Next is from RAR ZZZZ. It's like the roar and then sleeping. What synergies can we expect to come from the UTXO Alliance? Will Rosen allow all bridge chains to mix their wrap tokens? Sorry about that. Well, from my understanding, they're looking into anyway, kind of like a mixback feature where a user could potentially come from a different chain, and I think with the user interface on that first chain, program a bridge, mix, and then bridge back. I know that's something that they're looking into and exploring. I think the Sigma Join, newer mixing framework, is probably going to be better for that, just because it allows for third-party mixing. So we'll see what develops, but I certainly see that as a really interesting service that Rosen could potentially provide, because instead of having a third party or custodial mixer, you actually have the ability to mix on chain, to where I guess to some degree Ergo could potentially be like a privacy empowering chain. But then the question is there enough liquidity and users that are using the mixer on Ergo and different tokens that it provides nice privacy features? That's a question. We'll see. Anything to add on that, Alex?
Sounds good, actually. And yeah, about UTXO Alliance, we have different talks, but yeah, maybe too early to announce at this point.
Let's see.
What's next?
What's next? I'm getting there. The next question is going to be, what's up, Ergo fam? Other than Ergo Learn, are there any other teaching or educational developments in the community for Ergo Script? I know that Deco certainly has been releasing a lot of stuff that's not only within their Discord channel, but they've open sourced it and put it on YouTube. So I would say right now that's the lowest hanging fruit and easiest access for anybody that wants to learn about Ergo Script. I do also know that I had asked the people that are running Sigmaverse if they would be willing to put together a page for developers, because right now we kind of have like the dApps and the wallets and NFT projects, and that directory or single resource would be really powerful to use in terms of collecting all of the different developer tools and instances in the ecosystem, organize them in a way that's user friendly, and so people can kind of dive into all different parts. So I'm hoping that that comes together. There's a question for you, Alex. It's, do you take coding as a hobby or as a job? And then he said, it looks like you guys don't sleep.
Yeah, so it's lifestyle probably.
It's lifestyle. I like that.
Yeah, especially, yeah, as I'm coding science 12, right? So, yeah. So for
well, there you go. It's
time.
It's not a hobby. It's not a job. It's a lifestyle. I like that.
Kind of.
All right, let's see what we got out. Okay, another question. I'm wondering what makes something worthy of an EIP. For instance, EIP 30, which is the DEXI stablecoin framework, seems to be an application rather than a standard for the core protocol. What would you say makes something worthy of an EIP?
All right, so good question, actually, because there is no clear answer still, right? So we don't have some strict rules yet. So basically, EIPs are usually about defining some standards like EIP 3, right, which describes how to issue tokens, right? So how to put metadata into issuing transactions for applications to be processed correctly. Then there are EIPs for nodes modifications like EIP1, right, for custom scans. There are EIPs for different features, well, again, kind of industrial standards like ERGOPay, Ergo Auth, so EIP 28, and so on. Right, so there is EIP for multi-signature, right? Well, again, to have better understanding, right, and the support from different applications. And then, yeah, so around Sigma USD launch, EIP on Sigma USD and then DEX contracts. So they were made, right, in order to have a description, right, of certain things like how bootstrapping of contracts were done and which contracts were actually used, right? So if you want to build an external application on top of Ergodex, right? So you know what's used there. Right, so maybe in future, so if some big application will have its own ecosystem, it will have own improvement proposals, right? But yeah, currently so EIPs are used. Right, so maybe at some point there will be a need for separation, right? So we will have EIPs, for example, and maybe Ergo application standards, right, with scripts and so on. Right, maybe one of the reason why Ergo has it and others are not usually is composability, right? So yeah, also there is a EP for Oracle pools. So yeah, in regards with composability, right? So if you know what are the contracts, right? So you can build your own application, right? Working with Oracle pools, working with Sigma USD, working with Ergodex, and so on. And yeah, so it's simpler to define such things, in comparison with Ethereum, for example, right? Where you have, pretty big contracts, right? And it's not quite possible to understand them, right, fully. And yeah, in regards with interaction, there are some well-known interfaces, but then yeah, this interaction is standardized.
Yeah, I think
so in case of Ergo, yeah, it's kind of more flexible and non-standardized interaction usually.
that's a good question. I think it does ultimately break down to composability and having the ability to plug multiple pieces, parts together in a standardized way.
Yeah, so for Ergodex and maybe some other applications, maybe we can have a hackathon, right? So even propose tasks for the upcoming hackathon. So to build some external applications on top of them.
So Alex, another question for you. You're up for it. What are your thoughts on DAG technology in cryptocurrencies?
I see. So usually it's not solving any problems, actually, right? So I mean, it was kind of technology, right? So to avoid more offensive terms, right? To improve throughput, but yeah, even with ordinary proof of work and proof of stake, so you can reach throughput which would be limited by layer 0 only, right? And for improving layer 0 performance, so DEC is doing nothing basically. I think it's not a solution. I mean, not a solution to real problems of blockchains.
You think it's just avoiding problems in layer 0?
Basically, yeah, it's I mean, so selling points are well saying that you can have blocks more quickly, right? If you allow for block tree, not blockchain. But yeah, I mean, in both cases, so there are ways to be limited by networking bandwidth only, right? And yeah, block tree would be limited by the same bandwidth, basically.
Yeah. Let's see if we got any other questions before we wrap it up. Looks like we're rolling around to an hour. All right, another question for you from Diddy C. Is there an advantage to having the same accounting model on both layer 1 and layer 2?
Oh, I see. Actually, UTXO is better for layer 2. So there are some layer 2 solutions for Ethereum, right, which are using UTXO model because it's better, right, despite the fact Ethereum's layer 1 is about account model. For example, Plasma Cash. So yeah. Yeah.
All right. There was a question up here for the theme for the next Ergo hack.
The upcoming one?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's up to you to announce it.
No, I think that we will put it together and we'll have a proper announcement. So I'm going to say soon with that.
Oh, you mean some announcement video? But
yeah, well,
it was already announced, right? So yeah, it will be about DeFi.
no, I thought they meant the next one after that. Yeah, we're doing a joint hackathon with ERGOPAD and the Ergo Foundation in terms of DeFi.
Oh, and yeah, after that, so we don't know. Actually, there are many topics. Well, especially this year, right? So maybe we need for another hackathon for tools, well, for social change, right? And yeah, also, well, decentralized infrastructure is also a very important topic.
Yeah, I would like to see both. We're going to have a lot. And one of these days, we also need to have a hackathon for interoperability. I think that would be a fun one as well.
Yeah, very much needed. So yeah, bridges is top priority now, right? So yeah, in regards with attracting liquidity and boosting the ecosystem growth, especially in regards with Ergodex, right? But not only. So yeah, bridges is top priority now.
All right. Well, I think we're rolling around an hour. Is there anything you'd like to close with, Alex?
Yeah, I've got a notification that my laptop battery
It's about
is
dead.
low, but yeah, so I have a few minutes. Yeah, we can take maybe one more question.
All right. Let's take a look. Okay, this is for you, Alex. How are Ergo and Cardano related in terms of dexes and/or applications?
Oh, maybe it's better to invite Ergodex guys after
Their testnet stuff is done. We should get them on here.
Yeah, so yeah, as far as I know, the testnet launch is done, right? So yeah, after the mainnet launch, or maybe even before it, we can invite the guys, and yeah, they will provide much more detailed view, definitely.
All right. Oops. Anything else you want to cover? I think we're good for today.
Yeah. And so, what about dev update video?
Yeah, so CW is put together a studio. So we have the Australian/Colorado dev update coming out. It's being edited at the moment. So far it's a huge increase in terms of quality. There is quite a distance between, the two factors. So there's a little bit of a ping time issue sometimes, but we're working on it. And I'm really excited because he's not only going to do dev update, but he's also going to do a show on mining that's going to be weekly. He wants to do shows that highlight different projects, developers, ecosystem growth. And he was pushing for a bi-monthly just open discussion about the state of the industry, the state of things. And he wanted me to invite you, Alex, if you ever want to show up for that. Let him know, and I'll try to show up when I can.
All right, yeah, would be happy to join sometimes.
Sure. So have a good week, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show. Manage your risks, trade well, enjoy developing if that's your thing, and
have a good day, everyone.
Have a good week.
So, stay on Ergo and stick with it.